some light on in here. There we go.
There we go. All right, everyone. There we are. It's the Masculine Geek Rogue Sunday broadcast with special guest Richard Cooper. We haven't done one of these in a while, so it's nice to be back on a Sunday morning. We're all still getting ourselves awake and drinking our coffee and whatnot, so here we are. Rich, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We wanted to talk all things geek with you, cars, motorcycles, women.
Do it.
Because there's a geek in every man, no matter what stage of life he's in, whether that's active or that's something he grew up with or it's in his past history. There's a secret geek in everybody. So
100%.
So let's oh, and I ordered your book too. I want to check that out. That arrives Wednesday before I head out to Gettysburg, so that'll be good reading while I'm out there. So
enjoy it.
Absolutely. Oh, so Rob, yeah, wait, Jimmy, I just noticed that now.
Yeah, I put Jimmy on there. I'm like, well, I gotta switch things up at some point.
Different names every time you come in. Okay, that's for like Aaron Clary. All right, I like it.
What does Aaron use for a screen name?
Oh my God, it's every time it's different. It doesn't matter, and he'll make up some goofy shit. Like the last time we were on, he said, "What did he say?"
It was a straight masculine geek. I think that was
the only straight masculine geek.
We're straight, but not every single time.
Exactly. So every time it's something different. So anyway, so you're in the same time zone, or is it an hour off?
I'm in Eastern Standard Time. It's 11 o'clock here right now.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Cool. So there you go. Nice. So historically, tell us a little bit about your own geek upbringing, as it were.
Oh, you want to hear about the really geeky shit?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's why we're here. Absolutely. We want to know the secret geek in Richard Cooper's closet.
Built a shit ton of plastic airplane models when I was a kid, World War II models.
Nice. Yeah.
World War II, Tomcats, Hornets, all that stuff. Used to hang them from strings, from my ceiling and shit.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Formation, like they were in dogfights and all that.
Yep.
What else? Well, I wasn't allowed to play Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid because there was some press out when I was young, and my mom caught wind of some kid that stabbed his mother or some shit like that. And she thought I was going to lose my mind. So,
so you were prohibited from D&D.
I was prohibited, man.
Your mom didn't try to tell you it was of the devil, that it was devil worship if you did it.
Yeah, some nonsense like that. But of course, as you get older, you kind of move on. There's always the inner geek in you. I played World of Warcraft and all that stuff, so I've had my share of dorky things, but fun stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. No, were you a huge video gamer aside from the World of Warcraft? Like, obviously, like when it came out for us, it was the Atari 2600 and ColecoVision, and then the Nintendo.
Yeah, I played Pong. I played Pong. The Atari when it came out. It was what was the other one with the fucking circle dial with the buttons on it? Commodore, no, not the Commodore 64. I can't remember what it was, but they had King Kong on it and a bunch of stuff like that. Like we played that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Intellivision.
Yeah. That one. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I've always had a console. I mean, I don't play games on my console very much anymore now. I think the last game I played on it was God of War, like the most recent one. Because I had to, because everybody kept calling me Kratos, and I'm like, who's this Kratos character, right? So, like,
holy shit! You actually do match up with them.
Yeah. So I grabbed God of War and I ripped through that, and that was actually pretty cool. But I haven't played a game on my console in about a year since. I mean, I just use it for YouTube and Netflix and Prime, and that's about it.
Oh, okay. I always forget that those consoles can stream those other apps.
Yeah.
Okay. So, kind of the standard things too. Books, comics. Were you into any of that kind of geek shit?
Not comics. Read a shit ton of fantasy novels. A lot of fantasy novels in high school, like big, thick 700 pagers.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember the series that I got into, but in my local mall, there was like the plastic model shop, and then beside that was a bookstore. So if I wasn't building plastic models, I was reading books on fantasy world shit with dragons and swords and flaming things and all kinds of stuff.
Robert Jordan, David Eddings, yeah.
I mean, I can't remember the titles or the authors for the life of me, but probably read about a dozen of those big bastards, and that was always fun.
Okay, cool. I like it. Yeah, that's pretty. I think it's pretty standard for most guys starting out with the plastic models. I did that too. I didn't hang the planes up, but I did build a few of those. Mine was mainly ships.
Yeah, I did a couple of ships. Ships were a slightly different game because they were always about yay big, and everything was so small on it. Like you had to have a really steady hand, and you couldn't get too much detail on them. So I was like doing like the 148 models.
Yeah,
I see. Now, were those also focused on a given time period, like World War One, World War Two, or
World War II at first? Like I did everything in the World War II era. Zeros, Messerschmitts, like all the British planes, some of the American planes. Did some British bombers, and then I kind of started like after like closer to Top Gun and stuff. That's when I started building like the Hornets and the F-14s and F-111s and anything with a swing wing design. I always thought was cool when I was a teenager.
Okay,
absolutely.
Nice. You were Rob. You didn't get into any of that stuff, did you? I forget.
No, I really didn't get into models. The inner perfectionist in me, I tried it, and with all the detail, the one that I can remember was some type of a battleship, and it was like what Rich was saying, it was so small that all the little parts, the cannons and everything else were even tinier, that you're literally like taking a magnifying glass and using tweezers to put it together and glue it on. And the glue I was using, it was either, I could never find a happy medium. It was either a glue that took forever to set, and so it's running and dripping and getting all over everything, or it was like a super glue where it's like it's instant bonding, so you had to be fast. Otherwise, it's like, well, you're going to have to redo it. And it just got so frustrating. And then it was also, where am I going to put this stuff? Because I didn't have a lot of room in my bedroom to put these things.
Ceiling, man. So, you gotta get them hanging from the ceiling. There's lots of them hanging from the
ceiling. There's all this space above you that's not getting used.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think too much about that. I guess I didn't look up enough. And so that was, I dabbled in it for a minute and then got frustrated with it and kind of gave up on that. The one thing that I did do a little bit, and it was something that my dad had started, was the model trains. That he had a model train set down in our basement that took up 3/4 of the main room, which it's pretty big. And so we had these, these Tyco trains that you'd flip the switch and away it'd go. It'd run the electric current, and the train had lights and bells and all that kind of crap. So that was a lot of fun.
I always found like the train community was like the next level geek. It's like totally the Uber geek, right? Yeah. I remember I was dating this chick in my early 20s, and her mom had remarried this airline pilot. And airline pilots apparently have like this affinity for train sets, and his entire fucking basement was just like done, like mountain ranges, running waterfalls through fucking mountains and stuff, and trees everywhere, like full on model scale. You had to crawl underneath, and you'd pop your head up in the middle, so you're like in the middle of the village. You'd have a hat he'd put on and all that. And she basically tell this guy to go downstairs and dork out. Like this guy was a total beta need for her because. She had married the alpha seed, had all the kids, remarried, beta need dude. He paid for everything, and he was allowed to have his little man cave in the basement.
He was allowed to have
it
everywhere
when he wasn't, flying in outside of the house. Yeah. My gosh.
Oh my god, yeah, that is true. That's I was in the trains for a while, especially around Christmas time, and when I was younger, my mom would take me and my friends to this church in the basement. They would have this set up. The local train club would come in, and the entire basement was full of exactly what you were describing. And you'd have to duck underneath to be in the command control center to move all these trains and turn the water on and the electricity and all that shit. So yeah, that's definitely next level. And it's not a cheap hobby either.
Oh no, that's why I never continued it. It's like, man, I can't afford this. It was way too expensive. So,
yeah, it's sort of, I wouldn't say it's dying out, but it's definitely niche now. It's not as upfront in the general populace as it used to be. So, So what geek shit are you into now, Rich? What do you've got you're a car guy. You used to be into motorcycles, correct?
Yeah, mostly cars now, I think, is what I geek out on. I mean, I've always been a car guy. Like I still have my Car and Driver magazines from my teen years. I got them stashed away somewhere, and I'd read all the data on it. I'd know the bore and stroke of engines, the compression ratio, everything. 0 to 60 time, quarter mile times, everything.
That's pure panty peeler right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yo, you want to hear about the bore and stroke of my 1991 Suzuki Swift
What a
GTI?
pickup line. I love it.
That's fantastic. Oh, you got
Yeah,
Now,
like
was that
anything
common
that's
when
like
you were a kid?
engineering, like anything with a lot of moving parts that's complex, like that shit fascinates me.
Okay. What was that, Jimmy?
I said, was that common when you were younger that people would be into cars, and that would be something like, was that something that you could talk about with other people and like have a conversation about, or?
It's weird because all of my friends, we were always into cars, and then I found it weird as I kind of got older, and you kind of you start getting your first job, and you meet more people, and you go to a different school and college, and move around a bit, and I started to realize there's a lot of people, like a lot of guys, that have zero interest in cars whatsoever. And then I also started to notice the direct correlation between a lot of guys that don't like cars are like low T beta males too, right? I mean, any guy that wants a 700 horsepower muscle car that can do a wheelie down the quarter mile is like cool dude in my books, right? Like that was the guys to hang around with. We used to go to Cayuga drag strip. Like I remember there was this drag strip out in just east of Hamilton, which is probably about a 2 hour, like 2.5 hour drive from where I was living at the time when I was in my late teens and 20s. And we couldn't afford to stay in a hotel. So what we did was we found this, I think it was a provincial park, and you weren't supposed to camp there, but we did anyway. and we'd sit there all night, just getting hammered around the campfire, arguing about Ford versus Chevy stuff. And you come up with all kinds of acronyms like, yeah, your Ford's a piece of shit. Fucked on race day. That's what Ford stands for, man. FORD, fucked on race day.
Yep. Found on road dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fix and repair
Fix and repair daily.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
But, then you get into the other brands like Fiat, fix it again, Tony, or there's Chevy shit or something like that. I actually almost got a tattoo when I was a teenager of the Chevy slogan at the time, which I think was the heartbeat of America. Thank God I didn't fucking do that.
That would have been you really have to cover that up with something.
Oh God, or you get the
Always have
chevron
one
or
for
whatever
something.
that they have, their little iron cross kind of thing. That's their logo.
I
know
was
a couple
all
guys
in
that
on
do
Chevy,
that.
man. I had a Chevy Camaro. I think 2 or 3 Chevy Camaros and an IROC Z. They made fun of me for that. Oh, you're an Italian retard. Yeah. Or it was I reek of cologne, I think was the other one.
Oh shit! What was your first car?
It was a Honda Civic that a business associate gave to me from a finance dealership, because I used to work at the stereo store, and there was a finance shop beside us that did automobile leasing and financing. It had a trade-in on like a 78 Civic. And here, let me see if I can find a picture of it. Actually, I think I might have posted an old one here. I'll give you guys a visual. Funny. And he just handed me the keys, and I ended up not being able to fix it, but I sold it to a junkyard for like $100 worth of scrap metal. But yeah, I had a few cars starting around 16, and all these things I bought myself. A lot of guys were like, "Oh, you look like the kind of guy that inherited all this shit." And it's like, you couldn't be further from the truth, man. Everything I got, I bought myself. My parents wouldn't give me shit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can find a picture of it here, because I'm pretty sure I have one. Put it in an old photo album. Do I have it?
Funny.
No, I don't. I thought I did.
Nope. Okay.
Can't help you there.
It's funny you say the Honda Civic, because it does remind me of my first car that I actually bought at 14 before I could even drive it, because it needed to be restored, and me and my dad restored it. It was a 1977 MGB, British car.
Those things had more electrical problems than.
Yep.
Which is weird because anytime it would rain or it would get moist out, for a car that was built in a rainy climate, they couldn't make anything work properly.
Yep.
You'd want the wipers to work and then never turn on when it was raining. A friend
You
of mine
figured
had,
they
like,
would have
a
fixed that ahead of
Triumph.
time.
Yeah, that was one of the things with the MG, and I know that 1980 was the last year that they did mass production on them. And so anytime you needed to get parts for them, you either had to go to the junkyard and hope to find something salvageable there, or there was a couple of companies out of California you could deal with. But for the price that I paid for that car when I bought it back in the day, I think I paid like $800 for it.
Yeah.
Some of the parts, after I'd restored it, and it would still end up, something would break off or break down or whatever, like a year later, to replace even like one thing, like the steering column, where the turn signal is, there's a little cuff device that the turn signal itself attaches to replace that one piece was over $100. And I was that was about the time when I was like, yeah, I probably need to get rid of this car, because it was ridiculous. And the fact that replacing the windshield on it, because it was such an unusual dimension, where it had the 3 little wipers versus 2 large wipers type of thing, like most American cars are, and even most modern cars are. To replace the wiper blades, the whole assembly, the windshield itself, it was ridiculous.
Throw that up on the screen.
The MG?
No, right there on the shared. So that's the Irica Cologne mobile. I had that in my early 20s. My girlfriend at the time, I was living with this chick and a couple other friends in this house that we shared. She'd fucking come home from work after taking the bus home, and she'd be like, "Where's the fag mobile? I didn't see it in the driveway."
Wow! Oh my God! What? Damn!
You and I are about done. Like, you can shut your pie hole. We're not going to have this conversation. But yeah, you get the idea, right?
Yeah, which is a shame, because a lot of cars nowadays look like electric shavers. I don't hear my friends get excited about cars unless they get something that has like features where they're like, oh, I could start this remotely. I can shut it down if somebody steals my car, but nobody gets excited about the look of it.
Yeah. It's because cars all look the same. They all look like, they get excited about, oh, look, I have an app and I can get out of the car and push some buttons and it'll pull into the parking spot by itself. It's like, you're a loser, buddy. I don't get like the whole hard on that guys get about these like electric toys now. They're dead to me. Like, they're not alive.
Seriously, that's great for a disabled person that needs the extra help.
Sure.
But if you have all 4 of your working limbs and a fucking brain, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you're right about the look of the car. Everything looks the same, even down to the ridiculous. Exactly, even down to the ridiculous gay ass names. So it's true. It's completely true. I don't see it changing anytime soon. Nothing's going backwards.
Jack Napier in the chat there. How come he's not on the stream right now?
He is. Well, we have a guest. We could absolutely, if you want to have a free for all. I usually leave it up to the guest. If we have a guest on, we focus on hanging out with the guests and talking with them. But if you want to bring Jack in, and we can all bullshit, sure.
Yeah, we can flick some burgers at him. He's a fun guy.
That's right.
Jack, get your ass in here.
Let me. Apparently, we're not good enough for Rich. It's
I just popped open the screen here. I'm like, holy shit! There's a lot of conversation in the chat. You guys get a lot of engagement here with these guys talking to each other.
Absolutely.
We do.
We've got a good chat.
Usually like a few 2 or 3 conversations between people, at least with a regular broadcast.
Yeah,
they're bouncing back and forth between it.
What do you guys usually cover on these shows? Just talking about like geeky shit?
Yeah, geeky shit. We're women, a little bit of politics, but not too much. But usually geek shit. Yeah. Fundamentally, but we'll talk. We'll talk all kinds of stuff today. Let me go find Jack's chat thing here. I don't know where the fuck is he. I gotta find him. Let me type in. Hang on. Where's the goddamn search thing? Son of a bitch.
What do you got behind something you? I see. That looks like a 3D printer. What do you use that for?
What was that?
Wait, sorry. Say it again.
Jimmy looks like he's got a 3D printer behind him. Is that what that is?
I do.
Yeah.
Are you
What do you use that for?
manufacturing firearms there, Jimmy?
We're in New Jersey. Shh.
That will help us later.
Yes.
No, nothing of that sort. I don't have the right. I don't have the right PLA for firearms, for like the Liberator or anything like that.
Can you actually
simple.
print a firearm that will work with a 3D
Yes.
printer now?
Yes.
Yep.
You can.
The first one was the Liberator. It's about 80%. I think it's 80% plastic.
Are they
it
reliable? Like is the barrel also plastic too?
So
No,
here's
usually the barrel for a lot of the firearms that I've looked into, the barrel, basically you're dealing with the receiver and you're dealing with a couple other parts that are the major parts.
Mhm.
And all of the smaller, I guess, metal parts, you're buying them, where at least here in the United States, the parts that are registered is usually your receivers. The barrel itself can be, but at the same time, you can have a barrel made, or if you have them like a lathe, you can make your own barrel and do the rifling and all of that with it.
Mhm.
And then all you're doing is just adding it into the parts that you printed up on the printer, basically.
I saw
exactly.
I saw this one on Twitter once that looked like a very small handgun with like
Mhm.
I think you could run maybe like 5 or 10 rounds through it before it would fall apart.
Oh,
But it's all
wow.
plastic.
Completely plastic, huh? That's interesting, especially for the barrel, given the amount of pressure and the amount of heat that can go
was
through them,
gonna
depending on
say,
how
yeah.
fast you fire.
Yeah, I
They
don't
can
think it was a large
destroy the
caliber.
barrel.
It might have been like a 9mm or smaller, but it definitely wasn't that big.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's one of the things that they do is they will start swapping out the barrel after. And, if you're printing out the barrel, you could print like 20 of these things and have them on hand.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, just prepping these things for small arms fire is interesting because I'm a 3D modeler. So I know a little bit about what they go into where it's like, all right, these people have extra vents. Or they'll have, they'll buy a shroud for the barrel to make sure that the heat is dispersed properly.
Yeah, it helps cool it.
Exactly, because plastic is, especially if you're going with something like PL. I think they use something different, but PLA is basically like sugar-based plastic, which is what I use for a lot of minis and stuff like that.
Mhm.
How long does it take to print out one of the a 15mm mini?
Hour, usually. It depends on the complexity of the model.
Really?
It could be an hour, 2 hours, 3. If I make something particularly complex, like if I make something that has a lot of details, like, all right, this thing has 6 legs and 6 eyes, and I've posted
Like a spider or something.
Yeah, then it could take longer. It's really interesting too.
Hi.
How you making out, Jack?
I wanted to say spiders have 8 legs, Vince. Learn
I
your
was
arachnids.
thinking different legs and whatnot. All right, how about an ant? 6 legs, whatever the fuck legs they have. An ant. Print out an ant for me there, Jimmy.
Yeah, with accompanying high heels.
There you go. What's up, Jack? Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for
Heck,
having
you
me.
can thank
Well,
Rich. We weren't going to bring
Rich
you on.
wanted to flip boogers at you. So.
I heard that.
Spitballs and boogers.
Here we go.
Oh,
Rich, something real quick. Rich, something I wanted to ask you was we're talking about how things look the same nowadays and things look kind of soulless, and there's all this focus on new features that nobody's gonna fucking use because you're not gonna drive up to a parking space, get out, and let your car drive the additional 10 feet. Nobody's using it for that. It's most of it's marketing, or unless you're disabled, and in case you need that stuff. Something I see often in like geek industries, like right now, comics, the tabletop industry, and video games, which are all industries I'm in. There is this drive to there's a lot of nostalgia marketing, like, hey, let's go back to this earlier thing that we liked that was cool.
Mhm.
Do you see that happening with cars? Is there a big enough market for that?
Oh yeah, the new Bronco is a great example of that. I put a deposit down on one of those. I want to get it next year, but yeah, they completely retro designed it to look like the original, not the one like the O.J. Simpson version. I think they were smart enough to avoid taking it back to that retro era, but like the early ones in the whenever they first brought them out, like the more boxy styled, so that it tries to compete more with the Jeep. You see it with a bunch of other cars too, like the Camaro, like the new Camaro that kind of made more retro-ish. What other cars have they kind of made retro-y these days? There's a few. There's quite a few actually.
I just pulled up the Bronco on my on image search. Man, this thing looks. You could tell it's made new, but it looks like it was designed from somebody back in the 70s.
Search for Ford Bronco Sasquatch package, because that's the one with the big wheels and the lift on it.
A Sasquatch package? That's awesome.
Yeah, and they got cool names for everything, like the goat modes, which is like go over all terrain or something like that, and they come up with names like Sasquatch package, and they're gonna have a Raptor version of it. Instead of calling it the Bronco Raptor, they're gonna call it the Warthog, right?
Oh,
interesting.
Cool. It sounds like a G.I. Joe Jeep or some shit.
Yeah,
it looks like it.
That's going to be my zombie apocalypse vehicle. I want to be able to drive over zombies when those motherfuckers come.
Absolutely. No, this looks like something you would take hey, let me grab 3 of my friends. We're all going to go out. We're going to go off-road in the woods or something like that.
And in the navigation system, there's trail maps for every off-road trail that the Bronco will fit on in your region. So, I mean, if you want to go off-roading and drive the thing through like Jeep trails and stuff like that, boom, you just follow the trail maps. Like, that's cool tech. I don't care about getting out of the car and the car parks itself, right? Like, I want tech that's like, hey, take me through the forest.
Tactical tech.
Yeah. I want like goat terrain modes, like go over all terrain fucking buttons and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody sent in the chat, so it's named Chad. It's like named after the Warthog from Halo. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It looks like it. It looks like it.
Right?
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about.
James, go
throw
ahead.
it up on the screen so guys can see it.
Yeah, let me pump this up. Let's see here. Share screen. Blah, 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 blah. Don't show these tips again.
You should get G.I. Joe minifigures with that. Like, as soon as you go on all terrain, you have your figures all lined up as mascots supporting you while you go through all terrain.
Yeah, rather than remember the Jesus figurine people,
the hula dancer.
Hula dancer. You've got your
windshield.
Look at this.
I just got to figure out somewhere where I can mount this inside the Jeep so I can get like easy access to it. Right?
Is that a machete?
Is that your machete?
You gotta have a machete.
Is it showing on the screen properly? I can actually tell without it flipping back to StreamYard.
You actually have to click share screen, Jimmy.
I could have sworn I clicked it.
Jimmy's a good mentally disabled name. I like it. It's very good.
You have a self-driving car, don't you, Jimmy?
Jimmy.
So it's this thing. We have a few other pictures of it. Like, look at the shape of this thing. It's like, this is very clearly, it's modern.
Yeah.
They're using modern tech, but like, there's personality to it. It looks like somebody put their heart and soul into this thing, and I don't see that when I look at like a Ford Focus.
Yeah, no, the entire thing's modular too. Like, you can basically take the whole thing apart and put it back together with like maybe 3 or 4 different tools. I can't remember what the engineers were saying, but it's basically built so that you can add on whatever you want to it, like whatever you want.
Oh shit! It's like a car of Mr. Potato Head. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. So you could have multiple modules basically, and depending on what terrain you're going to be in, if it's okay, I'm going all tactical mode, and we're going to be out in the rugged, the outback type of thing. You've got one set of modules for that. And then when it's now I'm in town cruising the boulevard type of thing, I've got it for this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But can it store the kids for baseball practice after my podcast in a shed?
Probably if you just say 4-door. Yeah.
The shed.
Probably
Can it store my shed?
That is cool.
I
have to ask, what is this shed bullshit? What's up with that? I live under a rock apparently because I don't know
where Dutch guys grow all their weed and mushrooms, man. They do it all in their shed.
Okay.
No, well, you'd be surprised.
True,
most
Jack?
people do it in the attic.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, most people do it in the attic.
Do it in the attic? You think you would do it in your basement unless you
Nope.
don't have a basement?
Nope, attic, because of the lighting and the heat and things like that. I really don't know why. And most Dutch people don't really have basements. We more have attics.
Really?
Yeah. And
you have a shroom attic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the biggest reason people get caught is their electricity bill. but most of the time they tap it off from the neighbors and things like that.
Yeah,
So the wrong people get
weed legal in Holland. Like, can't you just grow whatever you want?
No. There are certain rules to it. Like, you can have the cannabis plant, but you can only have 3.
Only 3.
Only 3. Yeah.
3 is not enough.
And like growing it yourself is, well, it's just illegal. They have certain positions for you to do that.
Thanks, Evan.
I'm not really into the whole weed business. Maybe I should, but
Maybe
after
on the stock end of it, the investing end of it, yeah.
Because at a certain point they made it all legal. So like the whole weed business, and this was during the Klaas Bruinsma age. All the illegal stuff, all the let's say the mob weed just went down because, well, it was all legal now. Not many people could make bank off of it. Now, with the coffee shops and all that, they get a certain permit, I believe, that allows them to grow more than what is legally, well, as I said, that is more than the 3 plants.
Well, then personal possession, like a business permit for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bingo, like that. You need to have a certain business permit.
After they legalized it, they bottlenecked it.
Yep.
And Rich, that's an interesting parallel to something. Rich, you've talked about crypto on occasion, and you've mentioned that, like, sure, they won't criminalize crypto, but they'll just bottleneck it on the server.
Yeah, the bottleneck it at the exchanges. They're already talking about doing that right now. They just had a meeting in Europe. They were talking about how to control it. And
shit.
I always knew the banks and the government was going to try to control it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they're going to get you. They're going to choke point you at the on-road, like on the on-ramp and the off-ramp, really.
Aren't they doing that in certain states? Like, you can't, there's certain apps that just do not work. I know I heard like Texas and.
Yeah, I got into Charlie's
same
crypto mindset course, and I was watching some of the Zoom recordings, and it sounds like there's full KYC. They collect all the information about you, exchanges, and there's others that are like more gray market. You probably need like a VPN to get through them.
Yeah.
But there's always some creative way to get around, roadblocks and stuff. You just have to be like super level geek to kind of figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely requires some finesse and some jumping through different.
But I mean, like, the good news is once the government sort of normalizes a way for more people to use it, then you're going to get more people buying into it and using it, right? So that'll be the upside of it.
Do you think we'll get to a point where it's like, oh, maybe I don't pay for my coffee with Bitcoin, but maybe I pay for my car with it, certain larger purchases?
It'll probably be with Ethereum for smart contracts, if you're going to do cars. But it's, I mean, fiat currency is going to die. Like, we've seen, like, there's cycles with everything in life. I mean, you see it with the seasons, like in a 12-month period, from the get-go. But if you're talking about money, as a store of value and how it's been used throughout history, like, it used to be barter. That's what money was. It was like, okay, Rich Cooper, like, Cooper's the barrel maker. Then there was Jimmy, who maybe grew raised chickens, and Rob was, I don't know, cows or something. And Vincent was maybe like the blacksmith. And, if I had barrels and I needed to go to the blacksmith and, get a fucking sword made or something like that, it's easy with barrels to swap for swords, but the guy that's growing wheat, well, that's seasonal. So how do you store value in the value of wheat? And then that's when they figured, okay, well, let's turn wheat into gold, or let's turn, wheat into silver or copper or shillings or whatever the hell it is that they were using. And then that became a pain in the ass because you got to carry around all this metal, and they would start to like clip off like bits and pieces of the metal to, to kind of like make new coins, like,
shavings.
Yeah. Like, let's hopefully, think that nobody's going to notice that the little edges of the coin have been like shaved off, and, we've made some other coins with them, like, over time, as, as we shave more and more off. So, they turned it into fiat currency, like, into money. And even people back in the day, when they had like metal, as a store of value, to exchange it for paper money, was still hesitant to take it in and swap their metal for paper money. So it's the same thing right now. Like, people are hesitant to swap in their paper money for cryptocurrency.
Just because of the physicality of it.
Yeah, but paper money's like it's the standard today. Like everybody trusts in a paper US dollar bill, which realistically has no intrinsic value. It's
Correct.
like as useful as wiping your ass, like with toilet paper. There's no limited supply. They print as much of it as they want, whenever they want. And people just haven't got it through the thick heads that fiat currency is slowly dying. Like there's no going back to it. The way they use it right now and the way that they keep printing it for quantitative easing whenever they feel like it, there's no going back to fiat currency. Something's going to have to replace it. I have a feeling it's going to be something, cryptocurrency based. Maybe it's Bitcoin, maybe it's something else, but something else will come to replace it eventually, just like paper money replaced people carrying around metal.
Yeah. I mean, because we're going to need something to pay debts with. Like you're going to need something to pay your taxes with. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Debt doesn't have as much meaning anymore today because, now you got Biden and Kamala Harris going, we're just going to get rid of your student debt. And Justin Trudeau's been talking about, wiping away portions of student debt. So it's like, all right, well, that's cool. But, what's the point in borrowing money and having like a ledger to track those things if they have no meaning or no value?
Yeah.
Yeah. If somebody can just fix it.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a bit of a messy thing right now. I mean, we're on the precipice of something changing. So
yeah, that's for sure.
You'd be smart to get yourself at least one Bitcoin and start trying to figure out what cryptocurrency is and how to use it.
Yep. I'm on that track now. Yeah. I joined Charlie's course as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff. I'm trying to keep up with the Telegram. Like you wake up and there's like 800 messages.
It's thousands now. Like I'll go in there like maybe once a day and just like, holy fuck, what are you guys talking about, man? Just give me the videos. I just want to watch the videos and the fucking webinars.
Yeah, well, it's good he created the like the piggyback channel where you can get all the information.
Exactly. Yeah. There's just so much going on there. You're never going to stay on top of it all unless you're on all the time.
No, and I'm glad today's a day off. I can't keep up with the Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It's definitely getting the value out of it. So now let's switch to I want to hear a little bit about your book, The Unplugged Alpha. Like I said, I just purchased that, and that'll be coming in Wednesday. That'll be good reading material for my trip. So let's. I want to hear a little bit about that. Like what was the sort of aha moment where you said, I need to write a book?
Well, I knew like 3 or 4 years ago when I kind of started doing all this red pill stuff with Rational Mail and all the other books that are kind of tied into that. And then for me, a lot of the Evo Psych stuff has been very interesting. I've gone through a bunch of Evo Psych books, and that's really what the Unplugged Alpha is there's so much crap we've been fed as men, and all these comforting lies about what society should look like and how we should, act to serve it and to serve women. And then when you start to realize that none of it serves you as a guy and most of it is all just comforting lies, then I'm like, okay, there's all these uncomfortable truths that exist, which, you can condense some of them into sound bites. Like women don't give a fuck about your struggles. They hang out at the finish line and they pick the winners, like stuff like that. Right.
Yeah.
All I really did was I just took everything I've learned over the last number of years and really just put it in a 200 odd page book and made it as distilled down to the point, easy to read, but covered as much as possible. And I got chapters in there on why you should own a motorcycle, why you need to learn violence, chapters on monogamy, on marriage, on red flags to look for with women, why we live in a female first primary social order. A lot of my own personal interpretations around that. And a lot of it came from me dealing with my own wounds that I made my work. And a good chunk of it as well is like the hundreds and hundreds of guys that I've talked to over the years that have booked me for coaching, telling me their own personal stories and struggles and like what I've learned from them and how I've helped them. Cause I kept copious notes after each coaching call, just, what was this guy stuck on? What was his limiting belief? How do we kind of move past that? So yeah, it's just a condensed version of all that. So, you can grab it all out there. It's like, I think it's on sale on Kindle right now for less than $7. The paperback version is like 15 US or whatever, but yeah, it's super cheap for all the dense material that's in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a steal for the amount of value you guys are going to get out of it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What does that say there? By the way, Rich, you were one of the first guys that got me into the space. Thanks for being here. I wouldn't have found Masculine Geek without you. That's cool, man.
Thanks, Red. Yeah, Red's one of the our original watchers, and we're going back. Rob? This January will be 2 years. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So the idea for it's been percolating for 4 years. You said, okay.
Yeah.
Now, how long did it take you to actually finalize the writing? Was it you find it easy?
No, I'm not a writer. I'm far better at video production. I mean, I can get in my car and turn on the camera and drive. I mean, fuck, I could drive on a racetrack probably and still talk about something, coherently and deliver some good value. But to sit down in front of a computer and write it all out, that was a lot more work for me. But I'm not going to say that I enjoyed the process, but I enjoyed reading the final product because I think it's a nice product, and a lot of the feedback that I've gotten on it is like, this is bound to be an instant classic. So, I'm pleased that people like it.
Okay. I look forward to reading it. Excellent.
What was that like, Rich? Because, I mean, you've accomplished a lot. And then you write your own book. And I think how does that work with Amazon when you send in your book? Do they send you a physical copy, or do you have to order one yourself?
If you live in the US, you can order an author's copy for like $4, but because they don't have a printing press in Canada, I just had to buy it off the site. So I bought 5 copies. Like, I've got 5 here right now. I'm going to give 2 to my brothers, and I got a couple of signed ones that I got to send out to some special requests. But yeah, that's how it works with Amazon. If you're in a country that has a printing press, I think there's one in the UK and there's one in the US, and I think there might be one somewhere in Asia as well. But they're basically print on demand. So they don't print off a bunch and store them on shelves. It's like when somebody orders it, some printer somewhere starts going brrr, and spits out a unit and ships it out.
Yeah, the one in the US is in Delaware, I think.
What was that like? Like, after accomplishing everything you did, then all of a sudden you're holding your own book.
It's pretty cool, man. Yeah, it's you feel like you've done something. I mean, to have something that, I mean, somebody could potentially give to somebody else 100 years from now after I'm long gone, dead in the ground and dust is, it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to do an Audible or audio version, Rich?
Yeah, everybody's asking me to do audio, and the book itself was a fuck ton of work, so that'll be the next thing that'll be a fuck ton of work, is doing the audio.
Are you gonna narrate it yourself?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it myself. Yeah, I was talking to Rhinestone about it. It's like, if you don't get it exactly right, they reject it. So I'll have to hire an audio engineer, just get it done properly, and hopefully it'll be out by sometime next year. I'm not going to say when. I'm not going to commit to a date, but I will get it done.
Yeah,
nice.
That's awesome. That's cool. Awesome, because you meant, like, the idea, culture is that thing that's passed down, and God, I'm so fucking happy that I'm alive today, that I get to grow up today, because I have everything in front of me on this tiny screen, or this big screen, or a screen of some kind. And Rich, you talk a lot about making your mark on the universe. That's one of them.
Yeah, we'll see how the book goes, but, hopefully it puts a little dent in the universe and unfucks some guys' lives. And I mean, for the most part, the guys that have bought it and written reviews already know who I am. So I'm hoping the book, because it's ranking well in the category, can at least reach guys that are looking in, the dating category or whatever, to come across something they wouldn't have otherwise considered, just because it shows up on Amazon, with a bunch of stars on it. So they can at least get the information too, because, like, you guys know this, the vast majority of dudes out there are just plugged into the total bullshit lies, and they just get so frustrated with life over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Or they do know and they don't want to do anything about it.
Right. Yeah.
Those are the worst.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that will, like, try to take the red pill and they'll try to spit it back up, and it's like, no, you can't, man. Once you see the code in the matrix, it's like, you have to keep going deeper.
Yeah,
you have to go toward the pain is what you have to do. And a lot of guys will be like, oh, well, that's painful, and I don't like those uncomfortable truths, so I'm going to go back to my cozy little bullshit place. And that's really what the blue pill is. And that's how they kind of get, like, blended into that purple pillish stuff, where it's like, I've seen the code, but I don't want to believe it or act on what I need to do, or it's too much work for me to look smacks or to make more money or to do something with some purpose in my life. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to, simp out and send this chick like $20 a month for her OnlyFans instead. And maybe one day she's going to like me.
And here I am being too cheap for $3 coffee. Like, $20 to a stranger? F off.
Yeah.
All right. All right, cool.
That's how I think it's going to work out, because a lot of guys my age, like that's how we get into this, is we see YouTube. Like, I saw a RSD video from Julian a few years ago that somebody sent me, and then just in the recommended list, it's like, who's this Rich Cooper guy? Who's this Rollo guy, etc. And it's this rabbit hole that you get into. If something, for guys my age, if something clicks, especially since like we're at the point now where people my age, there are more of us without dads than with dads, just because, dudes had kids later, so they died, or they just never had the dad to begin with.
Or if you had a dad, he was pretty beta. Like, that's what my dad was. Like, my dad just totally bent the knee to my mom, for the most part.
And so it just clicks, and people, they dive into it. And sometimes they get scared and they try to pull back a little bit, but it's one of those things where it's like, no, there's a seed there that's going to grow into something where, like, if they do have, like, maybe they didn't have their unplugging moment, but if they go through something awful, they're going to know in the back of their heads, it's like, these people had something going on. I think they're going to come back to it.
So that's one of the things that guys really stuck at today is like moving towards the pain and dealing with it and dealing with obstacles. I was kind of forced into it, right? Because when I was a kid, I mean, from the age of 2 on, I had third-degree burns on my upper body, my arms, and all that. So, like, as a kid and even as a teenager, I always struggle with identity and, like, am I worthy? Are chicks going to want me? Like, there's all these things that kind of go through your head. And then, like, after a while, when you start to realize, okay, well, I can sit here and sulk like a little bitch, or I can go and, like, control something that I do have some influence over, and then I solve problems in and around that. And that's really what made me be so successful as an entrepreneur. Like, if you talk to any guy that's run any business worth its salt, that's done over 7 figures, it's because they're good at solving problems. And I think that, there's a lot of guys that come to the Red Pill. There's a lot of guys that will read, like, books like The Rational Male, and they'll start to see, okay, well, the problem was my belief sucks, and this is the reality of the world. And for me to accept that reality means that there's some problems in my life that I need to solve. And then they kind of go down one or two paths, like, let's go do the work and solve the problems, or let's just go back and sulk about how unfair shit is, right? And most of the guys will go to the unfair category. I think they'll just complain about it. I mean, there's guys that do casts all the time, just complaining about women, complaining about other guys, making up shit about other guys. And it's like, wow, man, like, this is really what you're going to do with your time. You think this is productive, huh?
Like, instead of looking at their own life and thinking, like, hey, what can I do to make it a little bit better today? They rather point fingers to somebody else who has a better life and try to blame them for what's going on, something like that.
Yeah, I always say, the hate's always going to come from beneath you. Nobody ever gets jealous of losers. And it's not just like dudes that do it. Like, women do it a lot too. Like, I get women that'll, like, say, like, comments in my either social or on my videos, like, well, if you're so alpha, why aren't you saving us from all this bullshit? And it's like,
not my job.
It's my responsibility to save you from this fucking nonsense that you all created with these different waves of toxic feminism. How about you get all the ladies together and go down to the family courthouse and start marching on policymakers and bureaucrats and telling them that your guy won't fucking marry you and put a baby in you because family law is so hostile towards men. He's taking the other option, right?
But hey, it's alpha to save women, I guess.
Right. That's what
only when it benefits them.
Captain Save-A-Ho, right? Anytime you don't do what somebody wants you to do, what they'll do is they'll lecture you until they hope that you'll start behaving in a way that's more congruent with their belief system. They don't want to update their belief system to the reality. What they want you to do is modify your behavior to adopt their belief system and then do what they want you to do. And women are used to that, right? Like, they've had a steady diet their entire lives of thirsty betas placating to them and telling them that they're beautiful, and you can go right down the list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they want you to bend to their will.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah. And the funny thing is women hate guys that do that. They don't. They don't want to be with a guy that does that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
absolutely. And that's what I always thought was weird about those black pillars, because they bring up the statistics and women say in this survey and that survey, and I'm like, wait, you're red pill, right? Women don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
Yet you hold their word accountable. It's like, what?
Yeah, I'll give you a really good example, because I was thinking about this, the other day. So I saw this video where this guy was taking data from, I think, the 1930s to today, and really about self-reported information on female promiscuity. So when they lost their virginity, how many sexual partners they had, their openness to things like swinging, threesomes, bondage, open relationships, like all that shit. And it's like, over time, all of this self-reporting has indicated that women are more promiscuous, sleep with more men at an earlier age, and open to more freaky shit. And then he's like, you guys are going to hate me for putting this out, and it might black pill you a little bit, and you might hate it or whatever. But and he carries on. It's like, hang on a second, you're broadcasting information that's relying on self-reported data, right? I had a mentor when I was younger, in my late teens, early 20s, and he was old as fuck at the time, but he was telling me that, when he grew up in the late 20s and early 30s, he got more ass than a toilet seat. He said women were just as promiscuous back then as what they are today. That has never changed. The only difference is that women today are more open to their promiscuity than what they were back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, right?
Yep.
Because of feminism, and it's more widely accepted, and single motherhood and birth control and all that kind of shit. So it's like, if you're going to rely on self-reported data from women in 1930s about how many guys they slept with and at the age they lost their virginity, you're an idiot, because of course they're going to report, probably 1/3 the numbers, or, add an extra 5 or 10 years to when they got their first bang going on. Right. Yeah. Of course. So like,
of course I didn't sleep with a milkman. Why would
right. Yeah. You have to look at the actual behavior and not rely on women's self-reported data. And that's where a lot of these guys go wrong. And it's like, you dorks are just sitting there utterly clueless, pointing and sputtering about things that you don't have any direct clarity on.
That's something that I've always argued as well. You mentioned your mentor there, Rich. One of mine, I guess, would have been my grandfather, who was born in 1910. Okay, he grew up during the Depression. He was in his early 20s during that whole time frame. And I remember years ago, before he died, that I was talking to him, obviously not in the same respect that we here are talking, or kind of in modern day time, but he kind of said the same thing back then, that he's like, the only difference between then and now is it was all swept under the rug back then.
Right.
Nobody talked about it. Everyone just hush hush. If a girl got pregnant back in the day, what you told society, what you told the neighbors and everybody else was, oh, well, Jenny had to go and she's living with her cousin Mary in Delaware.
Yeah.
It was never that, well, she's giving birth to a child or something like that. And that's the argument that I've always had, not only for, I guess, these data stat guys, but even kind of the traditional conservative guys that want their time machine and their actual alternate universe machine.
Yeah, that's what they want. They don't want a time machine. They want like a portal to a parallel dimension that doesn't really exist.
Exactly.
Yeah, that never existed.
You guys want to go to a time era that never existed, and you basically say, I want to live in blissful ignorance, because you want it all swept back under the rug again, is basically what you're saying.
Right.
Where me, I'd rather it be out in the open. It's less detective work for me to do. Then it's like, oh, well, this is how they're going to behave. This is what they're going to do.
Do you know where they're coming from? Yeah.
Yep. Do I want to tolerate this shit or not?
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's really not as complicated as you think. Like once you get your head around it and you're willing to accept it, like the whole surrendering part for guys is very hard.
Yeah.
If you're 30, 40 years old and you've been fed crap your entire life and you're used to crap, you're going to believe crap. And then all of a sudden somebody comes along and says, hey, you don't have to eat this crap. You can do this instead. It's actually better for you. And it provides, more options and better clarity. They're like, no, I like the crap. I
I like my comfort. It's what I know.
I don't want to surrender to this crap. I want to keep enjoying my crap.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the question, right? Like, what will you prefer, painful truth or blissful ignorance? Right. I mean, I sometimes think that it's like, remember when it was nice to think about having a like living together, having the white picket fence, and now it's just like I look at couples at the streets and I wonder, is that kid even his? Does he know that for sure? It's like,
he does not have his eyes.
I'm going to give you guys a little bit of spoiler because I was doing a little bit of research on the instances of cuckoldry. So, speaking of the point of, is that kid even his? It's really hard to get accurate information because cuckoldry is based on female deception, right? Like she knows she was fucking when she got pregnant, but throughout history, women have cucked a lot of dudes and they still cuck dudes today. And like there was a study done in the UK and they stopped doing this in classrooms after this popped up way too many times, but they would basically send the kids home and they would say, collect all this information on your family tree. And a lot of kids would come back to the classroom and they learned that 30% of the children in the classroom learned that their father was not theirs. Right? Stop doing those tests.
Jesus Christ.
There's another bit of data that I put in the books as well, too, where actually it came from Toronto, from the Hospital of Sick Children. And there's certain diseases where this certain chromosome needs to be present on the Y side and the X side. So meaning, the father has to have it and the mother has to have it. And obviously, the woman knows that it's her kid because she births it, but the guy doesn't have paternity assurance 100% of the time, obviously. But they found a lot of instances where kids were coming in with all these, diseases. Then they would do blood work on the parents and they would discover the father was not the father somewhere between 10 and 15% of the time. So somewhere between 10 and 30% of the time, you're not the father of that kid, even if you're married to the woman that, you've got the kid with. Right. So cuckoldry is a real risk. And it's something that you have to consider, as a man, because the whole point of siring a child and slapping your last name on it and having that move, through history into perpetuity, or, the appeal for men throughout history has always been, that's my kid, right? I'm going to pass on the oxen, the goat, the farm, and all the other shit to him. And he's going to be king of the kingdom sort of thing. Well, if 10 to 30% of the time you're being cucked and it's not yours, how is that a benefit to guys?
Yeah.
Hence and then it's self-cucking too. Like guys self-cuck themselves raising single mothers' kids too, right?
Oh yeah.
But isn't that more, I don't know if indoctrination is the right word, but kind of brainwashing? Like most guys are being raised. Yeah, it really is actually. Most guys are being raised with the thought of, no, it's not her fault, she can't help it, and things happen, and who knows what happened.
They're trying to convince themselves more than other people when they start talking that shit.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that too. But a lot of women say it as well. I mean, teachers. I remember teachers saying certain things like that. Like, you don't know what happened, and she can't help it. It's not her fault. And now we know, like, no, she was a hoe. She had her legs spread for different kind of guys. And, well, one guy was dumb enough to fall for it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, too, where it's like, if you do something that your parents didn't do, that's kind of, or if you refuse to do something that your parents did do, that's kind of even if you don't even talk about it, that's like a slam on them. So if you, as a man today, say, I'm not gonna marry a single mother. A lot of guys today have single mom looking over their shoulder, like, really?
Yeah.
Is that some kind of, and there's all this tension wrapped up in it, and why a lot of people, they don't talk about it is the thing. They don't mention anything. It's all nonverbal, to where it's like, oh, you're not gonna do this with your kids. You're not gonna do X. You're not gonna marry a single mother. You're not gonna marry a fat woman. And American women are like, the average average weight is like 160 or 170. I like all these
Dutch as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No,
You have this
seriously.
real shit.
The average
Damn.
Dutch woman is 10
You can run, but you can't hide.
No, average Dutch woman is 10 centimeters shorter than I am. However, just as heavy.
Really?
So
Dutch women are taller, though. They're usually average quite a bit taller than North American, though, right?
yeah. But so they're let's see, 170 centimeters, which is how much?
It's about
5'7"?
5'10", 6 foot.
Yeah, and they're 72 kilos on average.
Yeah, that's
So
not
that's-
a spinner.
I can't do the
anything
conversion.
there.
What the fuck is that? What is
72 kilos
You're a
is
power lifter.
that is 160 pounds,
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Jesus.
something like that. So yeah, they're chunky, but as Sterling Cooper used to say, thick pussy slams different.
Mhm.
So there are guys out there who like it. Not my words. I prefer them thinner and things like that. But well,
It's too short to dance with fat chicks.
mhm. Can you even dance with fat chicks? Like I remember having ballroom dancing, and I had to dance with like a middle-aged woman who was, I don't even remember. She was about 80 kilos, something like that, and my arms just had to go like this,
Yeah.
and I had to move her around. It was just impossible.
Yeah, it's like hugging a boulder.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is. You're almost suffocating. It's like that scene from Indiana Jones where instead of running from the boulder, you're running towards it. You're
Yeah.
trying to stop it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Completely been normalized now.
yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're getting because like when was this? My former main plate, slim girl, skinny, and she even told me that when she went out for clothing or things like that, or she had followed something on Facebook, she would get thin shamed or skinny shamed, as they like to call it now. She
Mhm.
was being called out for being thin and being offensive towards fatter girls. It's insane. It's insane these days.
You see the articles about Rebel Wilson and her, her whole deal is I'm the fat woman in movies. I'm the quirky fat woman, and she lost weight.
Yeah. She looks
She-
great.
The fucking hate that woman got was
Adele.
insane.
Adele, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, we live in a time right now where if you're not doing what the masses of sheep want you to do, they will shame you.
Mhm.
They will shame you.
Hey,
And they'll
Rich,
call you
question.
whatever they feel like to try to motivate you back to the plantation.
Mhm.
How dare you look fit and sexy? You should come here and eat some cheesecake and get fat like me.
Fatland.
Welcome to Fatland. But hey, Rich, question. Jimmy and I just mentioned about like family being kind of repulsed when you don't do what they say. And you always say hatred comes from below.
Mhm.
Did you experience that a lot with family as well?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, God.
yeah. Like I had a couple conversations with my folks, and somewhere between my dad and I think one of my brothers, they were like, "Yeah, you don't really seem to like women anymore," or I don't know, some like nonsense like that. I'm like, "Where did you get that idea from?" Because I set firm boundaries around what I'm willing to tolerate now.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to come from every angle. Like, would you change? Like when somebody goes, hey, Jack, you've changed. And it's like, well, of course I've changed. If I was doing the same shit that I was doing 5 years ago, I'd still keep getting the same results I got 5 years ago. The whole point of being a guy is to become a better version of yourself, in my view, and put your little dent in the universe, which means you're going to have to adapt and change and do different shit, which means some people aren't going to like that. They're like, it's so weird to me that some people don't like when you make more money, when you date better women, when you have more opportunities and experiences in your life, sort of stuff. And they want, it's like crabs in the bucket, they want to pull you back in.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, family is one of the worst to do that too, I found.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with keeping family at arm's length, man. There's been times where I've kept family members, like I've seen them like once or twice a year, and it's like, just
Oh,
because
I
you're
do that
dating,
now. Yeah,
like, who cares, right?
exactly.
I
Yeah.
got no time for the negativity and the garbage.
No, it's fucking insane, and it's not worth your own sanity.
Yeah.
It's that shit is fucking stressful. It's completely
I don't know if
stressful.
you guys get this, but I'll get guys that'll like send me links to crap, like, oh, look what so and so said about your, or look at this video about somebody, saying this about you. It's like,
Yeah.
like I'm living rent free in this loser's mind, and I don't even think about them, and all they're doing is making up shit about stuff they have no idea what they're talking about.
Exactly. Yep. Oh, yeah.
They're trying to make this man-made drama between content creators. Like, oh, he said this guy. Oh,
Yeah, it's
They're fabricating shit.
yeah, it's manufactured indignation. It's
Yeah.
what women do. It's very gossipy and low T. And I can guarantee you a lot of these guys that are sitting around on Saturday nights not banging, talking about other guys, other women, it's because they got low T.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so true.
Pure soy.
Because Rich, you are basically a self-made man. You're the most successful person I've ever talked to. You might be the most successful person I'll ever talk to. I don't know. I hopefully have a few years left. It's have you detected that people dislike social mobility? The ability for you're able to go up, you're able to go to a new level, and you can keep going to new levels, and you've basically spanned the gamut of all these different social classes. Did people attack you, or were they trying to keep you at one, or trying to keep you at one below?
What's that saying? It was used on cryptocurrency the other day, something along the lines of, first they laugh at you. What is it again? Here, let's
first they laugh at you, then there's one step in between. The last one is, I think, then they want to be you.
Yeah,
it's one in between.
Okay, here we go. They laugh, then first they ignore you, then they laugh at you. Hang on, I gotta open this up here because it's a picture. It's a meme. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Right? And it's like, okay, well, if you use YouTube as an example with my channel, I would upload for the first 2 to 3 years and it would be crickets. I'd get no views. Right. So you just ignore it. Then they start to laugh at you when you talk about stuff. Then they start to fight you. So I guess I've got some people that try to fight me. I've already won. I won from the get-go because I don't care. I don't give them any of my attention. I don't respond to the nonsense. Right. And at the end of the day, it's like, you always gotta consider the source of who's pointing and sputtering at you. And every single time I've dedicated any of my efforts or resources to dissecting the source, like what the source of this hate really is, they're always somebody that I would never trade places with. I would never trade my life for theirs, right? So why do I care what their opinion is of me? I'm over here busy doing shit, and I'm not giving you any of my attention. But carry on talking about me and give me free marketing. I don't care.
But hey, 2 to 3 years? It took that long for your channel to
Yeah, dude. If I were to show you the here, check it out. I mean, I was showing my guys in the community the other day, but it was like it was dead for a long time, man. Nothing happens. That's just the way that YouTube is. Let me go to all time here, lifetime. And
it's pretty much the same with us. I mean,
let me just make this.
It takes a while to gain steam.
I found out yesterday, I was so proud of myself. There is this journalism channel about social justice warriors in comic books. They had a YouTube channel for 5 years, and they still haven't hit 1,000. I hit 1,000 within a year. I'm like, yes.
So it was like May 24th, 2014, up until about 2016. So for a good 2 years, nothing. It was just crickets with every single upload, right? Like nothing. You get like 50 views, 100 views. I remember the first time I passed like 1,000 views, I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Right.
What did I do right here?
Yeah. But that's just the way that it works, man. You can, it's a really long game, and some guys get lucky and, they're able to crack the code, or they work in a genre that's like very, very, like sticky for people. They really want to watch it. They want to subscribe and dive down the rabbit hole and stuff. But for me, it was like 2.5 years of crickets, basically. Very, very lucky.
So basically, instead of SEO and all kinds of little hacks and shortcuts and whatnot that you hear about, all the usual buzzwords, it is the grind. It's the slog. It's you just keep creating, just keep going. Yep.
But I want a cheat code.
Rich, your channel, what was the subject matter of it? Did it start out as what you're doing now, the red pill sort of?
No, it started out because I was if you sort the videos by oldest and you look at like the first couple of years, it's mostly me talking about entrepreneurship. I wanted to, I started the channel with the idea of interviewing friends in their success rides. So I ran out of friends with cool cars after like 5 or 6 cars. So I was like, okay, I gotta figure out something to talk about here. So I was like, okay, I've got some cool ways to hire people with parties, and I know how to use lawyers, and I've got some HR stuff I can talk about. And then one day somebody was like, I love your videos. You should do a video on the kind of women to not date. I'm like, okay, that's a cool idea.
Okay.
I've dated some real fucking losers, and I had just broken up with one, right? So I was like, okay, let's do a video on that. That was like 2014-ish or so. And that just kind of went poof, and it just took off from there. So I'm like, okay, guys obviously want to hear about some of these things, because what I was really doing is I found the more honest and vulnerable you are with the storytelling that you give guys, the more likely they are to connect with you, right? So on one side of the coin, you're going to get these losers that are going to be like, oh, this guy's whatever, they'll make up shit based on taking little sound bites out, and then they kind of like twist them around and they make up shit that's not true. So guys will take, a lot of your stories and they do that, but more of the audience will be like, I like that guy because he sounds authentic. And people, I think people inherently know when somebody's full of shit and they're tired of being fed shit. And when some guy comes along that's refreshingly honest, almost honest to a fault. Like sometimes I think I go a little too far with the storytelling and maybe, divulge stuff that they're not really, that the masses aren't willing to take. But if you're honest with people, I think that they can pick up on that. It's just, you get some weird, like half mentally, retarded guys that'll be like, that honest shit can't be totally honest. I think he's lying, and let's twist it around this way and we'll stream about it for 12 hours straight. Right. It's like, okay, dude, go.
Rich, I got a question. So you get that shit. You definitely get that shit from when you talk about women, when you talk about dating and modern dating life. There was a story, and this rich guy, because I started following you about 2 years ago when I started dating. There was a story you told which had nothing to do with any of this other stuff, but it was like the moment where it's like, oh, this guy's legit. You told a story about a mortgage that you helped out a friend on, and he basically left you high and dry.
Yeah.
And that was a moment. It's like, this is a level of honesty. Like nobody broadcasts this stuff, but it was like part storytelling, part warning, part like, listen, don't let this happen to you. There was a lesson in there of like, this is what happens when you overextend for people that don't have your back.
Yeah.
Like, do you get hate? Do you get that same level of hate when you talk about that kind of stuff?
I don't think it really matters what it is that you're talking about. You're always going to find some spurgy hater that's going to find some reason not to like you. You just have to ignore them. I mean, you just have to tune them out. It's kind of a bizarre skill that you have to get good at when you do YouTube and your channel starts to grow and you're getting a lot of views. Like I get probably somewhere between 3.5 million and 4 million views on my two main channels, right? The Clips channel and then the Entrepreneurs and Cars one per month. So there's going to be some spurgy guys in there that are going to make up reasons not to like you. You just have to ignore them and just, carry on with what works and appreciate the people that love you and just ignore the people that don't. One of the things that I had to adopt this year was just stop reading comments. Because, if you do a video and there's like 1,000 comments or 2,000 comments, there's always bound to be some retarded stuff in there that could throw you off. So rather than reading everybody's comments, which I got used to doing because you tend to do it when you have smaller videos, you get like less than 1,000 views, you get 3 comments, you're like, cool, somebody has something to say, let's go see what they have to say, right? And you go and respond to everybody. But like when you're getting 1,000 comments, like you just don't have time to read it all, and it's not a very good use of your time. That's one of the reasons why I turned on the channel membership too, because live chat is limited to channel members, so I don't have to read stupid comments from people that are autistic. And I also don't read the public comments anymore. What I'll do is instead I'll select once a week by channel membership, and I'll just respond to questions from channel members. Because sometimes I'll put a video out on something and then they're like, hey, I need some clarity on this. What's this all about? I love your shit. Can you help me out? It's like, okay, you're a channel member. I can sort comments by channel members. I will respond to those people. The other ones, I don't have time to sort through anymore. So you kind of have to adopt, new strategies on dealing with what it is that you're doing, because there are things that will, like, what a good example is? I think Elliot Hulse. I was talking to Elliot, about this a couple years ago when I met him, and he actually stopped doing YouTube for a while. And it was because he couldn't take a lot of the hate and the nonsense that was showing up in his life. So he just took a break from it, completely. And that's one response, mechanism that you could take to deal with, the nonsense that kind of comes your way when you do this. Like when you talk openly about shit like this, you're kind of exposing yourself, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
People will like you and some people will hate you. So he just had to take a break from it. So rather than taking a break from it and stopping the momentum, like, this is a business for me now, right? Like, I did an earn out buyout on my debt business. I'm not there on a regular basis anymore. This is what I'm doing right now. Like, the book was the first, key launch to the next step for me. I got to put some courses together for next year. I got to do the Audible. There's going to be conferences coming, for Rule Zero and stuff like that. So there's a lot of work that I have to do on the upcoming year. So this is a real business, and I don't need any kind of distractions taking me off my purpose. So you have to, just like with women, like, you have to set firm boundaries around the kind of women that you're going to let into your inner circle. You got to spot red flags. You have to learn what they are. You kind of have to learn how to do that in business, especially when you have a public exposure to the level that I do. So you just have to constantly adapt. And fortunately, I'm pretty good at it. I think I'm actually better than good at it, because I've always been good at solving problems. So it's like, okay, problem, what's a good solution to this that works for me? Mental point of origin that works for me. Unplug it from wherever I learn it from and plug it into myself and my business, right? So that's a key tactic I think guys got to learn, right?
Absolutely.
And would you say there's any specific book you would recommend about this, or just do it?
It's mindset. It's mindset around mental point of origin and getting really good at solving problems. It's boiling down to mindset. I mean, there's books that you can read, like a really good example of a book that you can read about problem solving, I'd say, is probably Richard Branson's Losing My Virginity. Like, that entire book is about problem solving. If you actually boil it down to what it is, it's his biography, and he talks about how he started up Virgin Atlantic and how he started up the record label and the Student magazine, and how he was thrown in jail for pirating records, from the UK to France and all that kind of shit. And it's like, the entire book is about problem solving. And when you realize, as a guy, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to be really good at solving problems.
What do you think about the book Launch by, what's his name again?
I haven't read it.
Title enough is alone.
Who's it said by?
Let's check that real quick. Launch by Jeff Walker.
I think that's a program launch book, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I haven't read it. John was talking about it earlier this year. I think that's the strategy that he uses for his courses. But yeah, I'm not familiar.
It is, yeah. It works.
Looking to get into that.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, I mean, as you just said, Rich, a lot of it is just keep going. Just keep going. And there is this little thing called the block button, which really comes in handy on Twitter.
Yeah, well, okay, so let's use Twitter as a good example, because that's a Spurk Fest too, right? So, so how do you have a good experience using Twitter for what it's supposed to be used for? Like, I got to look at Twitter as a place to broadcast stuff, right? So I have a new video, I want to drop a link. I have a book I want to promote, drop the link. I want to engage with somebody or reach out to them, cool. So I figured out that there's all these settings that you can apply to your Twitter. So one is not accepting DMs from somebody that you don't follow. First. Second thing is changing the settings so that you don't get notifications like @, like replies back, retweets from anybody you don't follow, right? Which is limiting if you have a smaller account. But if you have a larger account, like 50,000 plus or whatever, I don't want to read everybody's opinion about a tweet that I put out and get like 70,000 notifications. Like right now, I've only got one notification on Twitter in my other window, and it's going to be a DM from somebody that I follow, probably, right? So yeah, I mean, if you set these barriers around how you're using social media so that it's serving you, again, mental point of origin, taking the red pill concept and applying it to a business strategy, I don't want to deal with the drama. Oh, somebody said this about you, or somebody's got like a negative opinion about a tweet that you put out, or they call you a name or whatever.
Who gives a shit?
Like if you say something about, there's 5 ways that a woman can keep a guy, right? Like, be feminine, don't be a single mom, don't have dad, have culinary skills. You put that out, you'll get, like, if you got your notifications on, you're going to get 1,000, 2,000 acts from, like, pissed off women and white knights telling you that you're a fucking loser, right?
Every time you retweet me, I get that. It's like, oh, Rich retweeted me, didn't he? It's like, okay.
Here come the Spurgs.
Here we go.
Yeah,
like that.
So
those tweets always do well. Like, women, what's
don't
keeping
even
you
hear
from
them.
looking like this?
I don't even hear them. So what they do is they just screech autistically into the wind, and I don't hear them.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, at a certain point, I just mute them. Especially
Yeah,
with
that's
the
what I do.
women, what's preventing you from looking like this? That will get the hate.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'll get them going. But I mean, that's what Twitter is for. At least that's how I like to use Twitter, to create some outrage. Because the people who enjoy that will start following you and start interacting with you a bit, and you find a new audience because it's a shared opinion.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you're curating. All this comes down to curating your experience, which I love. You're making it's like, oh, here's this way to interact with other people. I can meet people that I want to meet. I can talk to, like, shit. I get to talk to authors that I love, and you guys get to find business partners. You get to find people who are interested in what it is that you're talking about, and making sure that's high quality, not just like spamming. I agree, so true, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
Making something that you're going to pull value out of. It's fantastic. All you have to do is click a couple of buttons, mute a couple of words, and say, let's have at it. Let's see what it brings me.
Yeah. Like, I'm not here to be somebody's punching bag. So why would I waste my time, effort, energy, and resources letting somebody do that to me? Like, you'd have to be an idiot, right? So I just set all those boundaries on it, and I just use it whenever I need to for what I need to.
You'd be surprised how far that will get you.
Oh yeah, it's way better.
I mean, even in corporate, like with a normal job as well, just setting up boundaries towards your boss, for some weird reason, they gain a lot more respect from you, and you can get a lot more done.
I was watching a cast, I think it was with Joe Rogan and Bill Burr, and he was saying that his social media strategy is post and ghost, meaning if there's something that I want to post, I'll just post it, put down the phone, and I don't read the comments. I don't look at the DMs. I don't look at the ats, nothing. He doesn't read YouTube comments. So I think that that's a really good strategy to use when your reach is grown, and you don't have to respond to every 3 comments you get in a video. Like, if you're getting a ton, there's always going to be nonsense in there that will throw you off your purpose. And you can spend hours arguing with some autistic guy on fucking YouTube or Twitter or whatever. And it's like, what is the point of this? Like, why would I try to change the mind of somebody that doesn't want their mind changed? All they want me to do is adopt my behaviors. So all they want me to do is to adopt their beliefs so that they feel safe. Right. And it's like
ego investment.
Yeah.
So post and ghost is, the new strategy that I'm using. Fuck it.
But it's ego investment for most people. It's like, he has a different opinion than I have, so I need to convince him. I will only feel better if I convince him.
Right.
Even though
a lot of people just like to be, they want to be right. They want their opinion out there, and that's it. Yeah. I know, Rich, you got to go soon.
Yeah, I got to go in like 10 minutes. So
okay.
Have any other questions before we wrap up?
Have you actually played God of War?
I played right to the end. I killed the boss.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's an accomplishment. There you go. Cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I went right down that one.
It actually is a pretty good game, in my honest opinion. At least it was like old school violent.
You know what game I really liked was Last of Us, the first one. That was a really good game. And then when they came out with the second one, and all the reviews are coming out saying that this was some social justice femtard sort of like update of the original, where she was like I don't know. There's like all this stuff in it where I'm like, I'm not playing a game that's gonna like lecture me on all these feminist narratives. I'm like, screw that.
Seriously, fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, they got it. They got to it. Like, the video game industry and the comic book industry is slowly fading away. Movies as well, because they're closing down theater after theater, I believe.
Yeah.
The drive-ins are experiencing a resurgence, which is nice. There's one in here in South Jersey, down in like Vineland area. You know what I'm talking about, James?
I actually didn't. I wasn't aware that it was open. I'm gonna try
yeah,
my friend's house for that now. You better send me that fucking address. I got some people to take out there.
No, absolutely, yeah. There was remember the old Atco one, right?
There used to.
Yeah, there was one in Atco, right? Not that far, right? Basically up the street from the raceway.
Yeah, it wasn't far away, but I think I can't remember exactly when that shut down.
I was there in 1989, so I think that closed shortly thereafter. It wasn't. I like the machete back scratcher you got there.
It's a good scratcher.
Absolutely. It's multi-purpose in more ways than one. So, but the drive-ins are making a resurgence. The first one was in Camden, New Jersey. I think it was like 1930 something. But yeah,
I'm actually surprised they haven't created like Cineplex is the dominant theater chain here in Canada. I'm actually surprised they haven't made an app where you can just put it on your console and just stream new videos. Like you buy them and you watch them from your house. I mean, I'll pay the same price. I don't want to sit in a smelly theater with a bunch of other people and pay $20 for popcorn, right?
Exactly.
I'd pay the same price, for my own house and my surround sound and just sit back there and watch it there. But they haven't actually gotten creative enough to do stuff like that because they move way too slowly.
Yeah, that's always been the case. I mean, the new theaters now, especially some of the ones that offer a drink and dinner menu along with your movie experience, those are kind of cool. I can appreciate those.
Like the dinner menus, like they take some frozen chicken fingers.
Well, it's definitely it's definitely not something you want to put on the menu for every week. It's like an experience here and there. But no, I get it absolutely. It's basically shit. It's fast food,
dog food. I mean, you basically feed it to a dog. like you'd give it to your dog and he'd look at it and be like, "I'm not fucking eating that, man."
Right. Stop ruining my experience.
I'm not going to.
Yeah, seriously. Well, that's why the drive-ins are cool because you're essentially in your own moving house, as it were. It's your area, your domain. Yeah, and then you can bring your own snacks if you want. At that point, it's you're just paying for the movie running, so it's not too bad.
Yeah,
I even remember.
It's going to be good for dragging people out of the house, which needs to be. That's my priority for the next year. Is all these people? It's like, well, I've been sitting inside for a couple of months. I don't really do anything. Thank God my day job is outside, and I get to get some fresh air and stuff like that. But there's all these people who are like cooped up in their rooms, and I'm like, you're going to go insane. You're going to go insane. I'm going to pinpoint it. It's going to be a month. Come have dinner.
Exactly.
Movie.
Yeah. You just dinner and a movie. Just drive her down to the drive-in. It's a bit of a novelty too. I mean, it's not something that's it's that's standard. So I'll send you the link to it. Cool. All right, I think we're going to wrap up here. We're at the hour and a half. We're at the hour and a half mark, and I want to thank Rich for taking time out to come on the Masculine Geek Show. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Enjoyed it. If you want to pick up the book, it's on Amazon. The Unplugged Alpha. It's on sale on Kindle right now and paperback. And if you can't get it in your country, I've had some guys who be like, "Hey, I'm in Qatar, I'm in Somalia, I can't get your book. It's not on Amazon." Go to Book Depository, and I'm pretty sure they ship anywhere in the world. So it doesn't matter where you live; they'll actually order it off Amazon and they'll ship it to you.
Oh, I had no idea. That's a Book Depository. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. Okay, just real quick, are you working? You plan on working on more books, or is this going to be just one and done, and then that's it?
I don't know, man. Yeah, we'll see if the juice is worth the squeeze. I got the audio portion to do still, which is going to be another chunk of work, and I've got at least one course that I'll put out next year, which will be a game changer for guys, because I get a lot of questions from guys about vetting for girlfriends or wife stock so they can have kids. And even though I'm totally opposed to marriage in its current state, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be put out there to kind of clarify the best way to minimize risk. So I'm going to put something out on that at some point next year too. So those will be the next two projects before I even consider touching another book.
Okay, cool. We'll have to have you back on. We can talk about those too and plug those. Cool. Excellent. Cool. Let's just go around real fast, do some housekeeping. Rob, where can everyone find you? Even though if you read, you'll know, but go ahead.
robsays.net.
Jimbo. You can find me on ashcreativity.com.
And last but not least, Mr. Jack Napier, go ahead.
You can find me on YouTube. Just search for Jack Napier Red Evening. And on Twitter, Jack Napier Knows. Link to the channel is in the chat.
Excellent. All right.
Thanks,
Rich,
guys.
once again, thanks for coming on. Good talking to you. And everyone, I want you to have a good rest of your Sundays, and we'll see you live on Wednesday. So everyone,
See you guys
take
later.
care.
Peace.
Peace.
Meh.
Shay?